Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Ad America TV. Hi, I'm Maya Trainer. I'm one of the guides here at Ad America, and we welcome our audience joining us online. We truly hope that you are doing well and staying safe amidst this outbreak. Well, anyway, for those of you who are first-timers here, hi, welcome to Ad America TV for the first time. Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center. Our mission is to provide a space for young generations of Indonesia to learn more about the United States. We have temporarily moved to a solely digital platform, so you can enjoy our program from the comfort of your own home and help flatten the curve of COVID-19. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comment box below, and our panelists will answer them later in the seminar. And for our friends here who are joining us through Zoom, there are a couple of features that you can use to actively participate in the seminar. You can use the raise hand section to ask your questions with your video on, or you can also use the chat box section whenever you wanted to say hi to the other participant and also the panelist as well. But please keep in mind to use these features wisely, alright? Cool. Now today we will be having a session titled Building Strong CVs or Resumes and Letters of Recommendations for U.S. Graduate School Application. A friendly reminder for all of you, as continuation of our 10th anniversary celebration and Women's History Month in March, we are having a very special activities with a giveaway this month. In this giveaway, we are giving out 10 tablets for 10 lucky people. So stay tuned until the end of this event to know how to participate. In the meantime, I will break the ice a little bit with our social media quiz. Are you guys ready? Okay, here we go. Our question of the day is it true or false that a resume focuses on a student's complete academic history and highlights their academic accomplishments? I will repeat the question one more time. Listen carefully. Alright? Is it true or false that a resume focuses on a student's complete academic history and highlights their academic accomplishments. You can participate this quiz through our social media comment section and stay tuned till the end of this event to find out if you got the answers right. And now, without further ado, please welcome our moderator for today, Kak Fina Alatas, Advisor Education USA at America.
Thank you so much, Maya. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Welcome to Ad America TV. I hope I can say welcome back if this is not your first time. My name is Fina. I'm one of the advisors for Education USA based in Ad America. And very, very excited for the session tonight. We're going to basically learn about CV, resume, and letters of recommendation. But before we begin, I would like to basically say hi to everyone who is watching this for the first time, and also to all of you who are watching this from so many different platforms. Because of course, in North America, we're not just having this event via Zoom, but we actually have also available on, let's see, Facebook, Twitter. We are live on YouTube. We are also live on Instagram. You can actually watch us from our website, atamerica.or.id. But if you want to join the crowd, we are actually here in Zoom. I think it's getting crowded. I'm looking at some of the participants here, and I think people are going to start coming in. If you want to join the crowd here in Zoom, because it's going to be very interactive, I have my colleague Santika who will basically interact with you guys via chat during my presentation. But then I look forward to basically read all of the questions after my presentation. All right. And again, before we begin, I would like to just give a short presentation about Education USA. If this is your first time and you're kind of like wondering, what is this Education USA? Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. Cool. I hope you can see this. So, what is Education USA? So, we are part of the U.S. Department of State Network, or here in Indonesia, we call them Kementerian Luar Negerinya Amerika Serikat. So, we have over 400 international student advising centers in more than 170 countries. So, as you can see here, we are basically all over the world. What we do here as the Education USA advisors all over the world, basically we assist everyone who wants to study higher education in the United States. So higher education such as bachelor's degree, master's degree, or PhD, or we call it here in Indonesia S1, S2, atau S3. All right, we give you unbiased and accurate information. And the good news is that you don't have to worry about whether or not you should pay for the service or anything, because we are actually free of charge. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it is actually true. And basically, one of my missions here is to basically tell as many people as possible that we are here, that Education USA exists. We want this place to be the go-to for you guys if you want to study in the US. Again, because we give you unbiased information, so we actually prioritize what you actually really need, and then we guide you on that as well. In Indonesia, we have 8 centers with a total of 10 advisors. So we have 2 in Jakarta, 1 at the U.S. Embassy, and then the other one is, of course, in Ad America, where I'm currently at, in Pacific Place Mall. And then we have 2 in Surabaya, 1 at the U.S. Consulate General, and 1 at the Universitas Erlangga. And then we have 1 in Medan, also at the U.S. Consulate there. We have 1 in Malang at Universitas Muhammadiyah. We have 1 in Makassar at Universitas Fajar. And we have 1 in Banda Aceh at Universitas Islam Negeri Araniri. So if there is no Education USA Center near you, you don't have to worry, because again, all of us here are basically covering the whole country. So you can reach out to the nearest Education USA Center, or now that you are with us here in Education USA at America, feel free to reach out to us. We provide you with 5 steps. So we start with step 1, that is research your options. This is like a very basic step. If you know that you want to study in the US but you don't know where to start, let's have a chat. And then we can move on to step 2, which is finance your studies, because of course that's equally important. There are a number of funding options available for us international students, and we are going to guide you on that as well. And then we move to step 3, which is completing your application. Things are going to get very technical here, as you know, as you can see from the event tonight. That is actually part step three, because this is like when you are actually ready to compile all the required documents, right? But then there's so much more. We can cover, like, we can review essay, the most demanding service here in Education USA and America, which I will be very happy to give this session 2 weeks from now. So, and then, we can also, talk about like standardized tests if you want to know more about GRE and GMAT and everything. And then sometimes, like, all the steps that we have, we cover that during events like this, right? And then once you basically have all the documents and then you're ready to like submit everything, and then you're going to wait, right? And then when you get accepted, do you see? I'm not saying if you get accepted, because I know that you're gonna get accepted. So when you get accepted, the next step would be applying for your student visa. All right. And then we're guiding you on that as well. We're not going to apply the student visa for you, but we're guiding you on that, giving you information like, there's some, technical terms like when you get accepted, you're going to receive either I-20 or DS 2019, depending on the kind of visa that you're going to apply, be it F1 or J1. So you don't have to worry about that now, but then we're going to cover that. And again, sometimes we cover this information through our session. And the last step would be prepare for your departure. This is usually like part of our annual event. We gather all of the students who are about to depart, and then we give them like a lot of information about, like before they go to the US. Okay. And then with us, there are 2 advisors here in Education USA at America. Again, my name is Vina, and then I'm going to call up my colleague Santika at the end of this presentation, but Santika is actually already busy, I believe, in the chat room, basically interact with you guys. So if you guys are watching this from a different platform and then you actually want to join the crowd, because it's actually going to be so much fun. I rarely see this in other Zoom events or anything like that. Like, I think like when I, join the other events, the chat is kind of like very like, silent. No one's actually talking to one another. But trust me, like if you join the Zoom now, it's actually like we just talk. And then I'm going to join the discussion as well after my presentation. Okay, so meet with us, 2 advisors here in Education Westside America. And I'm telling you, we've been receiving a lot of new advisees to the point where people lining up to see one of us. Basically, most of the sessions that we do will be like essay. But we can definitely, like, people come here to, get their CV checked as well. The advising hours is pretty much similar to when before the pandemic. So in America before, we always open every day, available every day, 7 days a week. And we start from 1 until 9 p.m. And so when we go fully digital, we don't see like why we should, like cut the hours. So we basically still available from 1 until 9 p.m. every single day, 24/7. And then, all of the advising session would be like via Zoom right now. So here I leave you the ID. It's kind of like an open room, but then you have to be kind of like in a waiting room before we let you in, because sometimes we are currently on a session. And when that happens, we're going to give you like a quick chat telling you that, hey, I'm currently on a session. Feel free to wait, or maybe if you want to come back like later on. But our advising system is basically first come, first serve. So technically, you don't have to ask us, hey, Fina, are you available at 7 on Monday? You can ask me like if I'm available on certain days, because sometimes I may not be available, right? But then in terms of timing, you don't have to like, give me like the exact time. As long as you know my shift. So Santika start from 1 until 5, and then I'm gonna do like 5 to 9. And again, it's first come, first serve. So if you ask me if you can be in Zoom and talk to me at 7, it doesn't really mean anything. Well, technically, if there is no one in the room, I can let you in. But if not, then, well, you gotta wait, okay? Or you can email us first if you don't feel like just going to Zoom and then just chat with us, because I always turn my camera on. So you gotta turn your camera on as well. I like to, like when we do advising session, I like to kind of like really interact with you guys, not just like, turn the camera off. So if you don't feel like, I'm not ready to like see Fina or whatever, you can actually email us first if you want to our email center here. And don't worry, we always check our email, so you always get a reply. So it's jakarta.atamerica@educationwestside.org. All right. If you have like a quick question, feel free to email us. If we feel that we can answer that quickly, then we're going to answer it. via email. But if you feel that, if you believe that it's better if we talk via Zoom, then we're going to tell you to, hey, go to Zoom and see one of our advisors. Okay. Tomorrow, you have to. I'm telling you, you have to attend this event. Like, seriously, guys, this is. I have never actually created this specific session before. I've been here for like 5 years. I don't think we have this session. So this is the very first time. I sometimes touch upon this topic, but then never to actually create this one specific session. So basically, we are going to talk about some other funding option available for you guys if you want to study in the US and without government scholarships, such as Fulbright, LPDP. Because there are a lot of people out there. Maybe you don't know about this, but I'm telling you, there are actually a number of Indonesians I know that actually in the U.S. and got their tuition waived 100%. So they don't pay a tuition, but then they're going to work as they call it GRA or RA. And so I can't wait to talk to Melly. Melly is one of my advisees. I'm so proud of him. We worked together on her essay. She's a very like lovely person. So we are going to connect with Melly all the way from Texas. So I can't thank her enough to actually wake up so early for this session. So it's going to be tomorrow at 6:30. We're going to hear her story to the point like where he actually ended up securing the GRA position. She felt Fulbright, she felt LPDP. And then if you've been here with us since January and then attend some of our discussion sessions, you actually realize that our guest speakers are actually at some point failed on this part, like when they failed on like securing scholarship and so on, but they end up in the US anyway, right? So we want to now introduce Melly to actually hear about her story, her failure story as well, but then it didn't stop her. So we're going to hear about that. So it's going to be tomorrow, same time as tonight. So I look forward to having you. And then, of course, March 18, my favorite, is we're going to cover how to write a statement of purpose or personal essay for U.S. universities. I missed this because we didn't have one in February. So I feel like it's been so long, although it's only a month gap. But look forward to this, especially, again, like I'm telling you, the majority of our advisees who come to us, Education USA at America, are basically, here to get their essays reviewed. And then I just want to kind of like give you guys a heads up before you guys see Santika or myself that actually writing essays is to the US is actually really different. And so before you write your draft and then at the end I kind of like give like a big axe, I want you to attend this session first so that you know what makes the US essays different. Okay, so it's going to be Thursday, basically same day, same time. Next, not next week, the following week. Okay. And then, I'm actually look forward to this. Basically, Santika and I are going to give a presentation, but then mostly discussion as well. Just short presentation, but then the rest will be like we want to discuss it with you. Everything about TOEFL, IBT, GRE, and GMAT. But then we can definitely touch upon other English standardized tests as well, such as IELTS, and then now we have Duolingo, and then there are like PTE. So if you want to know more about it, definitely attend this one. It's on Friday, March 19th at 6:30. All right, so that's my introduction. Before I forget, you can actually register to all the 3 events that I just showed you already by now by visiting AdAmerica's website, atamerica.org.id/educationusa. Scroll all the way down, and then you'll see like our events there. Okay. And it's really nice if you register now so that you don't forget. And then I believe Zoom is going to send us like a reminder email or something like a day before, so then you don't forget. Okay. Cool. All right. I'm keeping like time here, 6:47. I just want to make sure that we have room for Q&A and just like discussion in general. If you have any question, even though it's not related to like resume or CV or letters of recommendation, feel free to just keep asking us. Feel free to ask in chat. Santika is always try to answer your questions. And then we kind of like pick one of the best some of the best questions, and then we discuss it together during the Q&A. So yeah, if you have any questions outside this topic, feel free to do that. But tonight we are talking about CV, resume, and letters of recommendation. Especially this is for you guys who are going to apply for 2022. You better start right now, right? But then we definitely also welcome everyone who is still in the process for 2021 for this year, because there are still some campuses who are still open their deadline until we got like some deadlines this month in April. We got like some in May, not a lot, because usually the majority of like the deadline has been, it's since like last year. But all right, so let's take a look. I like to start my presentation with this list, just so that we are on the same page, so that you're not like, wait, what? I need to like submit my college transcript? Although you probably already know that we need to submit that. But let's see some of the requirements that the universities are asking. So they're asking for English standardized tests, that's for sure, either TOEFL or IELTS, and then now they add like some others like Duolingo and PTE. And then you need to definitely submit like your college transcript in English for sure. And then we got CV and resume and letters of recommendation, something that we're going to cover tonight. GRE and GMAT, we're basically going to cover that 2 weeks from now, as well as statement of purpose or personal essays, also something that I'm going to cover in 2 weeks from now. But I don't put this list on a specific order, so it doesn't mean that when I put statement of purpose as number 6, it doesn't mean that it's actually like the least important. And sadly enough, that's like what a lot of people think. Like people think that essay is kind of like the very last resort that people start working on. No, do not ever do that. And I'm not gonna like talk about essay tonight, because like I really love this topic, and that's why like I have like specific topic for essay in 2 weeks from now. So I'm going to cover that. But I'm just telling you now that everything that is on the list here are important. Okay. So let's dive right into it. CV and resume. This is like actually quite straightforward. But I just find it really interesting because in Indonesia, the term resume is actually not that familiar. All of us here know CV, but then let's take a look what are the differences. What's the difference between CV and resume? So let's start with CV, right? CV stands for curriculum vitae. It means course of life in Latin. If you actually really, like try to like really read it, like course of life, the way I look at it is kind of like I put everything about my life in CV, and it is actually true. But then we got like some timeline to work here. That is, your CV will only start after you graduate high school. So anything that happens in high school and before that, we don't actually put it in CV. And I think that's kind of like maybe what makes the CV is different here in Indonesia and the US, because I see sometimes like in CV where you still put like your high school, even like your elementary school, and we actually don't put that, right? So we actually just start right after high school. So start with like your bachelor's degree. CV, you are allowed to have, well, basically it's a document of over 2 or more pages. There's no page limit technically, unless the university specify it. And we actually see some universities, some programs where they specify the page limit for CV. But technically CV is just, you can have actually more than 2 pages. But we start with 2 pages. So if you actually have your so-called CV with 1 page, technically it's a resume. So I'm going to talk about that on my next slide. Basically, CV is a high level of detail about your achievements and more than just a career history, because we come back to like what curriculum vitae means. It means course of life. So you dump everything in there, even though it's not related, but you call that some of your activities, some of your achievements and anything like that, you put it into CV. Okay, so it basically covers everything. Of course, it covers education, it covers like work experience, teaching, research, publication, awards, presentation, honors, and so on and so on. If you don't have any of this, you don't have to feel overwhelmed. But this is just to give you an idea what is actually in the CV. Okay, CV it's static. It doesn't change for different position. So you're not like deleting what you have already put in your CV. Instead, you keep adding new things as time goes on with CV. All right. Now let's take a look at resume. Basically, my explanation about CV is only in one slide because it's just like how straightforward it is. But don't worry, I'm going to give you like some examples and stuff. So resume, it means summary in French. And I don't know why they came up with like CV as in like course of life in Latin, and then resume, it's a summary in French. Um, but resume, it means summary, and just like what it's called, the way we look at it, the way, I don't know if it's like an easy way to remember, but for me, like when I heard, like when I, the way I remember resume, because it means summary, it's kind of like a summary from CV, right? Because like I mentioned earlier, CV, it's static, it doesn't change. You keep adding new things where you probably going to end up with like, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 pages. And then you kind of like make a summary out of your CV into resume. Why? Because every time you look at any institutions or workplace or what have you that ask for a resume, they only ask you to write a 1 page document. That's it. And again, if you have already like a 1 page document and then so far you think that it's called CV, it's not CV. I mean, in the US standard, because it's technically resume. So sometimes, like if you just like recently graduated, and then probably you don't actually able to fit like the whole page, right? Or maybe you are able to fit the whole page, but then that's it. Technically, that's a resume. All right. Resume is a concise document, typically no longer than 1 page. That's it, right? So if you have like more than 1 page, well, I mean, technically, sometimes it's okay if you still want to call it resume with 2 pages, but then it's kind of like a maximum, right? But normally resume is only 1 page. It's a summary of experience, education, and skills. But like the easiest way to remember this is basically a summary of CV. So you just take whatever it is that you have on your CV, if you already have your CV, into your resume. Okay. Like me personally, I actually don't have CV because I'm able to fit everything in 1 page. So basically, I have resume. Um, and again, like if the institution or the workplace or what have you ask for a resume, it also means that not only they want you to only submit like 1 or 2 pages, but they do not spend too long like really reviewing your whatever it is that you put in there, right? Because or the easiest way to remember is if they ask for a resume, it means that they are going to read it real quick. That's why it's quite common for universities in the US to ask just a resume and not CV. But it depends. I mean, I'm not saying like resume is like more favorable or anything like that, but we actually see a number of programs that ask for only for a resume because like they need to do it real quick. Even like with essay as well, which I'm going to give the tips on that, like how they can read it your essay really quickly, but then they are still interested and found it really interesting in the essay, right? So we gotta do it that with resume as well because they don't want to spend too long, so they just need to really read it like really quick, probably like no more than 30 seconds. um and yeah, the goal for resume, and well, pretty much similar to CV, but the goal is to make an individual stand out from the competition. Pretty similar to also with essay. So basically, you want to create something that shows them that you are different and you have a lot of interesting things to put in that resume or CV. So the three major differences from those two slides that we can kind of like summarize everything is that the length, the purpose, and the layout of CV and resume. And what about them again? So CV, when it comes to length, is long, so a minimum of 2 pages and more. Whereas with resume, it's short, 1 page, maximum of two, no more than that. Okay. In terms of the purpose, basically it covers the entire career, and remember, it has to start from bachelor's degree. Whereas with resume, the purpose is oh yeah, I think I didn't talk about it on my last slide. but it's adapt to purpose. So you want to kind of like you want to modify your resume depending on what you are using the resume for. But I mean, it's obvious, right? Like you are here because you need to probably submit resume for grad schools. So your purpose for writing a resume is for grad school. So we want to adapt, we want to modify our resume that looks fit to whatever it is the program that you're going to apply. All right. And what about the layout? It's static. It doesn't change. So like you keep adding new things. You're not, like I said earlier, like you're not deleting some part of your CV that you have put in previously, but you just like keep adding things, right? Whereas with the resume, it's highly customizable. It really depends on what you use the resume for. Okay. So this is like the first part of what CV and resume looks like, just so that you can see. Hopefully you can see. It's kind of like small. But I think if you guys are watching this not via Zoom, probably you won't be really able to see it. But I'm not like really want to show you what is the content for this. I just want to kind of like give you like a better idea of what the layout looks like. So let's see what's common to both between CV and resume. All right. So on the left it's resume, and on the right is CV. It's very easy for me to kind of like left is resume for sure. Why? Because see how the person is actually really pay attention to like every information, like name and phone numbers and emails and address is actually only 2 lines, because the person is actually paying attention to. I only have like 1 page limit here, right? Whereas on the right side, which is CV, the person doesn't care. You can have like 1 line for address, one different line for email, one different line for phone number. And then what comes after that, you are going to start with education. Sometimes I would see people CV where they start with like different things like abstract or interest, or there's something else. And then I said, no, I mean, we're not applying for a job, I feel like. So we don't need that. Just education. You're applying for a master's degree. So they want to know, the first thing that they want to know is, what did you study previously? So education. And again, like they're not asking education just so that they know where you graduated from. Because sometimes we get this from people. Like, but I didn't graduate from like a well-named school, and I'll be like, who cares? And pretty much they don't care as well, as long as it's from accredited university, and then you did well, you're good to go, right? So we always like start with education, and then I'm gonna show you like what's next. But normally it's working experience, and then you can call them like differently, different things. Like you can call it just experience, or you can call it working experience or professional experience. There's no like rule for that. You can kind of like be creative and stuff. But the common things about them is the contact information at the top, size 12 professional font, and please the background of the paper, keep it to white, light cream, or gray. I know some of us here are trying to kind of like be creative in a way, like making it maybe, I don't know, like blue or something, because I saw that not often, but I saw that in the past. And it's kind of like maybe common here if you're applying for a job and then you have some kind of like colorful type of CV. But for this reason, for US universities, we want to keep it like very simple. Okay. And this is like the rest of the what the documents looks like. You can continue like breaking down some of the working experience. Don't forget to have like some bulleted statements, basically telling not just your kind of like responsibility, but then you can actually you can definitely also put like your um, achievements in there as well. It's just that with resume, because the 1 page limit, we want to very concise in explaining that. So probably like no more than 2 lines. All right. Whereas in CV, again, because there's no page limit, you can actually have probably like 3 or 4 lines if you find it necessary. References at the end, well, I mean, you don't have to, because references, we can see them as people who are going to write your letters of recommendation, and then they will know their contact anyway. So we can actually skip that. But if you want to have it, usually on CV is very common. But on a resume, because sometimes people just kind of like, I don't have more space to put like reference at the end. So then sometimes people just don't put it, and that's okay. Okay. Content in terms of like working experience or anything like that in terms of like the timeline, we want to put like in a chronological order or like most recent first on top. Okay. So again, like this is just like the full one page of what resume looks like. It's going to be, I think, look very small on your screen. Or maybe you can see it. I think you're able to see it just a little bit. But as you can see here, it's the first time I learned about like resume and CV, I was like, oh my god, this looks so boring. And I can totally see this is like looks so bland, like it's not fun at all. But then I totally like understand why they design it like this. This is so different than probably like other CVs or resume that we know, because US is like that. US always like to be very different, and I kind of like that. But now I understand like why they design it like this, because I found it really easy to get all the information that I need. All of the categories are on the left, because sometimes there are CVs that kind of like have two rows. Maybe you guys do that. Two rows, so like left and right, and then it's kind of like confusing. Like, wait, so do I like read the whole thing like from top left to like bottom left, and then go ahead to like the second? It's just like really confusing, and then I couldn't really like it's confusing also like when I want to know like the like what you from what year to what year that you working for this place or something like that, when you do it like that. But here it's very neat, education on top, experience, because it's like a larger font, education, experience, and then if I want to know, oh okay, this person has like additional experience, and then all of the timelines are on the right side, and then you break it down, all the information in there. Okay. And then in terms of address, I just want to give you like a tips, because like how address here in Indonesia can be like extremely long, because we have jalan whatever, gang something, RT 01 RW whatever, and then like the this is a lot of information. And I mean, it's not like they're going to like send you things over. So you can actually just make well, I mean, they are going to send you things over probably when they like if they want to give you like like flyers or the result or anything. But then I think the resume, you can basically just make it like very, very like short. I would suggest just put like the street name, the number, the city, zip code, and country. That's it. All right. And this is like what CV looks like. Again, the person actually don't bother in terms of like lines, so this person actually just put a lot of information in there. So if you feel like you need to like really explain what your achievements are about and your responsibilities, you can actually have like 3-4 lines on the bulleted statements. Okay, but pretty much the same as in like contact information on top, and then education as like the first category, and then you can if you have like a lot of like research experience, and you can put it there, especially if you just like recently graduated. But if like in a workplace you have in terms of like professional experience, you have like a lot of like different type of jobs, ideally you will want to put like work experience after education. Okay. And this is like the second page. Again, if you have like a lot of activities with you, like this person, publication, research grants, additional training, professional experience, honors, and so on, you can definitely put that. Okay. So this is the fun part. Let's take a look at what makes CV and resume are different in Indonesia. But like I said earlier, resume, I don't think it's familiar here in Indonesia. All of us know CV. But then I also explained that technically, if you have your so-called CV of only one page, then basically we're going to call that resume. Okay. But this is like what the curriculum vitae or like CV all over the world, I think, except the United States. Because like I said earlier, the United States are just like so different in so many things, including essays. So that's why resume and letters of recommendation and CV and essays are basically our in our monthly events, because I want to let the world knows that if you want to study in the US, they are just different. Do not make this document similar to like other countries. In Europe, they use it like this. I blurred it, of course, but who doesn't put their headshot in your CV? In your CV right now? Probably none. I can kind of like almost guarantee that probably you already have like you at least have like your headshot in it. And it's really funny because like I have my first resume after I graduated bachelor's degree, and I graduated from the US. So all I know is like the resume from the US. And so when I went back to Indonesia and I applied some jobs, and then I have discussion with like my friends and everything, I kind of like showed them my resume where there is no pictures in it and it just like looks very boring and stuff. They were like, "What is this?" you know, where's your headshot? And I found it like, my headshot? Why? Like the employers like want to see what I look like, because I never know about that. Like in the US, I'm going to talk about that on my next few slides. But in the US, like it's almost non-existent when the company or whatever actually wants to see what you look like. It's kind of like almost like discrimination in a way. But anyway, so yeah, now you know that because you are joining the session because you want to study master's degree in the US. Now you know if you have your headshot, take it off. And then the first part are basically okay. Like it's the contact information in there, like name, address, telephone number, email. Apply for? No, you're not applying for a job. Okay. But what's funny is actually below that personal data. What is that? That's also something that I found it. What is this? So technically, you don't like when I showed you like the resume and CV. Probably you kind of like found it weird. Like I think there's still like there's something missing in there, and probably this because you don't actually put your nationality, almost to the point like where like they don't actually care where you're from, right? And you don't actually put your sex or gender. You don't even put your marital status or even like date of birth or like even place of birth, because again they don't care. So if you actually have this when you submit your resume or CV, they will probably just like smile or like laugh at like, well, we don't need to have this, right? So then let's just save that so that now you know that we don't actually put that. Okay. Continue to like how CV and resume is different in Indonesia. Now you know it's like the major thing I would say, and it's really funny just like how there are so many of people contacting us wanting their resumes or CV to be reviewed, and they still have like their headshot in it, and it's really ironic because they said, "I already attended your session and it's really helpful, and here I attach my resume or CV." And then when we open it, Santika and I, we were just kind of like we literally laugh, like we literally just like smile. And that's, you can imagine, like that's probably like what the admissions committee are doing as well. But then we're smiling because, well, I thought you said you watched our session, and clearly in our session, in this session, we say no picture. So now you know, right? You can brag this to your friends, like, hey, do you know that if you want to if you want to make a resume and CV to the US, you don't put picture. Yeah, no religion, no marital status, and no other unnecessary information. I mean, I saw in the past where people like to put like even like hobby, and they have like a rank from one to whatever in terms of like communication skills or whatever skill, like software skills, like from 1 to 5. How even like how can I even like measure that with that rank? So no, don't bother with that. You can now tell yourself that resume and CV in the US is boring, but then those are actually the necessary information that the admissions committee are looking for. Okay. So I want to come back to kind of like just a little bit about like why maybe you are wondering, like really I find it really interesting because like if you probably like if you use it like in Europe or like just other countries all over the world except the US, it's maybe normal. I don't know. I've never seen like resume like in Europe or anything. I know that they put headshot, but I don't know if they actually still put like this so-called unnecessary information for the US standard. But the reasons why the US is actually not asking all this information, like your gender and your marital status and all that, is because of this Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Kind of like do a little history class here, but it's just like one slide. Basically, the act is saying that a federal law it is a federal law that prohibits employers from discriminating against employees on the basis of sex, race, color, national origin, and religion, right? And the good thing about that is that the Title 7 also applies to private and public colleges and universities. Boom, right there. That's why even though you want to use this not for like working in the US or anything like that, but for universities, this Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act also apply. Okay? So, kind of like just a little bit of information about like CV and resume for specifically for grad schools. Now you kind of like know like just the basic about resume and CV. But CVs are basically it's quite normal that grad schools are asking for CV, especially if you want to do PhD, because I think it's almost impossible the fact that you pass bachelor's degree and then master's degree and maybe some work experience to make it fit into just like one page. That's why usually they ask for a CV. But then it's also common if you want to do master's degree that they allow you to, like submit CVs as well. But basically, if you want to, apply for grad schools, they're going to ask that, right? Yeah, they typically request a CV, but sometimes they also look for resumes. So individual programs will ask for different things, might ask different things. So you have to be very like careful on that and actually really take a look at the requirements. Okay. And don't forget, like US universities generally take a holistic approach to evaluate applicants. So if you were here from the beginning, remember that one slide that I have, the 6 list of requirements. All those lists are important. It's very normal in the US that they they review everything holistically. It means that they really do take a look at each of the documents. So you don't want to, underestimate CV and resume, or you don't want to underestimate essay. All of the requirements are equally important. Okay. And of course, resume and CV is basically like one of the ways for you to present yourself holistically, right? Because they want to know about you, and they got to know that from in terms of like education background and like professional experience. They can read that through your resume and CV. Which, by the way, you don't want to put anything that you have on your resume or CV in your essay. This is a teaser if you want to know more why, because a lot of people thought that when it comes to writing an essay is basically you take it from like your timeline of your life. No, a big no. And I'm going to cover that on the event on the what is it, 18th? I forgot, but yeah, 2 weeks from now. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, don't forget to review the application requirements if they ask resume or they ask CV. Sometimes they put resume slash CV, and then sometimes we got questions from people. So if they, like basically, like let us decide if you want to submit resume or CV, which one is better. Is CV better because it has more pages? No. I mean, it really like it means as is like they literally just like let you like choose between resume or CV. If you feel like you can fit everything in 1 or 2 pages max, then let's be it. You don't have to try so hard to actually put a lot of things so that it'll become CV. Okay. And if there's some like unclear information on the website about it, just ask them, just email them, And that's it. That's basically my presentation about resume and CV. I did like basically the presentation is only 15 minutes, because that's just like how straightforward it is. But it's important, right? It's really important. I hope you actually get something out of this, that you learn something new that you've never known before. And please, if you really do watch this, and then you want us to review your CV or resume, please change it to the US version, right? We don't want to see any of like those headshot or two rows or anything like that. Make it exactly like what I showed, what the resume and CV looks like. Okay, we're not able to actually move forward if you still have like your other version. Okay, so let's take a look at letters of recommendation. Another fun stuff. I think letters of recommendation is. I think you guys are familiar with it, right? But the way I look at letters of recommendation is actually really, really important as well. This is also the one of the documents that you don't want to underestimate on. You really definitely want to choose like the right strong recommender, because the way I look at letters of recommendation is basically kind of like a statement of purpose, like essays, only that it's being written by someone else. You know, I mean, like it's different, the structure is different and everything, but it's kind of like it's very important because it's talk highly about you, but then you're not the one who talks about you. It's actually from someone else who basically believes that this person is amazing and this person should be like the right candidate for your program. So it's actually really important, you know. So basically, it's a detailed discussion from the referees, not you, of the personal qualities, accomplishments, and experience that sets you apart from other applicants. And I like this term, like this the sentences sets you apart from other applicants. And then you will see when I talk about like essays on the 18th that you will hear me mention this over and over again. Sets you apart from other applicants. You have to write an essay that sets you apart from other applicants over and over again. And then we also have this for letters of recommendation. It's basically like a letter written by someone else that basically sets you apart from the other applicants, right? And shows how you are perfect for the program. There are different type of recommender depending on what the universities are asking for. But normally it can be either from like academic, which is the faculty members, which is maybe kind of like tricky, especially if you have graduated for like quite a while, or maybe that you don't actually like keep in touch with like these faculty members. But this is actually really good if you still, you know, like you're fresh out of college. And then the next thing would be like from professional, and it's easier if you've been in a workforce for a while, because it's broad in terms of who can write. So we're talking about like it can be like administrators, internship or cooperative education supervisors, or just like supervisors, and employers basically in general can ask for your boss or like your boss's boss, your boss's boss. However, I think this is like what makes the letter of recommendation, or at least the way people here look at letter of recommendation differently when it comes to like letters of recommendation in the US, is that I feel like we tend to prioritize who writes this letter of recommendation so much more than if that person knows you. You know what I'm saying? So here people are just kind of like more concerned about, oh my God, who's going to write my letter of recommendation? It has to be someone big, someone like in a very high up position in my company that I'm working on. And we tend not to think about, does that person knows me well? So sometimes we skip that part, the latter part, right? And I want you now to think the opposite. So I'm telling you now, guess what? The university doesn't care who writes the letters of recommendation. They don't care if even if it's like the president of Indonesia or whatever, right? What they really care is what is in it. And what is in it is not about them. That is a president of Indonesia or a ministry of whatever, right? What is in it is everything about you. Coming back to my first bulleted statements here, basically the accomplishment and experiences and basically everything that sets you apart from the other applicants. That's it. They don't care who wrote it, who writes it. They only care about like what is in it. So what you need to find now is, don't worry about like the position of these recommenders, but really ask yourself, does this person actually really know me? Does this person actually can vouch for me? Does this person actually put an interest in me continuing my grad school? All right. If you have a bad relationship with your supervisor, well, then don't ask your supervisor to write the letter of recommendation, right? Maybe ask someone else. However, we also got some questions from people. Can I actually ask my colleague to write it for me? No. So it has to be someone that is like directly above you, as close as supervisor, and then you can go up from there. Okay. I think that would be new information. I don't know. Leave some comments in the chat if you want. I would like to see it. And how important are a letter of recommendation? How important? It's really, really important. I'm telling you. It's first of all, it's required for almost every graduate school application. So far, I have never heard universities that do not ask LOR. Yes, your other documents are going to play a huge role as well. Like I said earlier, it's holistic and everything. But letters of recommendation, because it's holistic, right? So it's actually going to play a huge role as well. So talking a little bit about holistic, right? It's sometimes people kind of like not really understanding what it means. But basically with holistic, we want to balance everything out because everything is equal. We want to balance everything out. So for example, you probably graduate with like just an okay GPA. So maybe we're talking about a 3.0 or 3.1, right? But then let's say you have like a really strong letters of recommendation, like the person's actually like really vouch for you, like really talk about like how talented you are. They are going to forget about like how you only graduated with 3.0. That's like how we want to balance it. We don't I would say the thing that we cannot like bargain is essay. That's why watch this session again, the essay session in 2 weeks from now, because essay for me, that's like you can't bargain. You can't think like, you know what, I'm just gonna make like essay just like okay, because if I have like a strong resume or if I have like a strong like transcript or anything like that, probably I will get a pass. But no, you don't want to do that. With essay, it just has to be good. Even like I don't really do good. I do great, if not perfect. Okay. But letters of recommendation definitely can help in other like documents. If you have like some weakness in some area, maybe like your GRE or something or GMAT, letters of recommendation can definitely help. Okay. You need to make sure that each recommender will say something different. So, if right now you can only think that, oh, I'm good in like leadership skill, and then you are asking to like two different like recommenders, and then you basically tell them, well, I have like good leadership skill. So we don't want that. We want to kind of like break it down as we want to kind of like break it down to like two or three different things, whatever skills you have. But definitely we want each recommender to actually say something different, because like what is the point of them asking you like two letter of recommendations, but like the content is basically the same, right? And the good thing about that is you can actually be upfront and talk to the recommenders what should be in it, right? And I have like something that I want to kind of like shock you a little bit, but it's very necessary kind of shock. But yeah, you can be upfront and talk to them about what they are going to say. Make sure you give your recommenders plenty of lead time, because of course we want to appreciate their time to do this for us, right? So please don't ask like very near to the deadline. I mean, different person have like different kind of like perspective on like how early or like how late. So for me, 1 month to even like 3 months are very ideal. Maybe not 3 months, probably like it's too long. 1 month and 1 month and a half, but then not like within weeks. So if you come to me, if someone comes to me and then, hey, would you be willing to write a letter of recommendation for me, and the deadline is in 2 weeks, I will be like, now you actually bother me. You give me pressure. And so let's not do that. Okay. Because we don't want to like really bother them. I kind of like give them like reminder over and over again. Okay. This is just like real quick. I mean, you will probably at some point will see this when you are about to like submit or uploading all your documents when you're in the online portal. Should I waive my right to review recommendation letter? They have like this what they call FERPA. You don't really actually have to like really understand like exactly what is exactly verpa, but the short answer is yes. Um, uh, Technically, if you say yes, because letters of recommendation, they see the letter as something confidential, right? They assume that the letter, what is in the letter, you don't know what is in it. So if you say yes, technically you're saying that you are waiving your right to actually know what is in it. But the funny part is they are saying that in Verpa that if you get accepted and then you want to know what is in the letter of recommendation, they will allow you to do that. But they were going to assume if you say yes, that means you are actually like unaware of what is in it, right? Yeah, so if you click yes, Verpa lets you request access to your recommendation letters after getting in and enrolling in school. Although probably like if you already get accepted, you won't care what is in the letters anymore because you already get accepted, right? But just in case, okay? So who should write the letters of recommendation? Basically, like I said earlier, number one, it has to be someone who knows you well, because what is in it is about you. It's not about the person. So technically, they don't care. Who are they? They care about like what this person actually write about you. And then I don't want to like go over like everything, but technically, for me, like number one is like already enough as long as they actually know you well. Then that would be get that person, get that person in writing, know you well, know you well, know you well, and actually someone who is actually really interested about your next journey, which is graduate schools, right? So if you find someone that I think you believe that this person very well, but then they don't seem like they're interested in like writing this letter for you, then don't bother. Ask someone else. Okay. Well, basically, you want to definitely provide all necessary information because sometimes they won't understand. But then the way I look at it is just kind of like make their life easier, right? So, but then sometimes the referees may not remember everything about you, so then you want to kind of like refresh their minds. So, what to provide to your referees? I'm not like suggesting like you're giving all this information like in a lot. What is it? 10. We got 11, but 11 is like the due date. But like the 10 of like all this like in separate documents. But I mean, if you kind of like share with them your resume or CV, I think that should help. And then if you actually share your essay, your draft, because this is also a teaser, because what is in it is technically not about like your timeline, but it's more about like your purpose of doing master's degree, right? Like, what is it that you want to do in the future? So then they at least get some ideas that, oh, you want to do this, oh, you want to create this, oh, you want to fix this, cool. You definitely is the right person, and then the recommender will put it in the letter of recommendation how, oh yeah, this person has done this in the past, and then this person has actually been doing really well. So I would say resume or CV and your essay would be actually really helpful. But if the person is from academic, like from a faculty, you can also maybe share with them your transcript, right? So, the way I look at this is, invite them for a coffee or something and then have like some kind of like, discussion and share with them what is it that you want to do, like, your story of you want to study in the US and stuff, right? So that again, they get a better idea of what to write in the letter. Now, the fun stuff, the shocking part, the necessary shocking for everyone who is watching the session. So Fina, the recommender, asked me to write it for them. And trust me, I think probably this is like the most common thing to the point where maybe this is like very normal that you is actually the one who write the letter. Um, but I make it into a question because sometimes people actually don't know that the answer is definitely not. So now you know if this like if you've never heard about this before, now you know. And I want to scare you a little bit, and what I'm about to tell you is a little bit like serious. So you definitely want to pay attention to this, okay? Technically, you are not in capital here, capital letters. You are not supposed to write the letter because yes, the letter is about you, but that's why they call it letter of recommendation for a reason because they're looking for a recommender. They're not looking for you to actually write the letter. The referees are, right, or the recommenders are. So you're not supposed to write the letter. I know like how common it is, how normal it is here in Indonesia, but I'm telling you, you do not want to do that when you want to study in the US. I don't know about like other countries, probably you can do it, but I'm just telling you, you don't want to do it. And I'm giving you like a good reason for that. First of all, maybe now you're thinking like, oh my God, wait, seriously? But oh my God, it's almost impossible if I ask like the recommenders to write it for me. But let's see. If the recommenders refuse to write it themselves for whatever reason, even after you explain it to them that hey, look, I attended the session from Education USA, and you can even tell them that this is like a part of the network of like State Department, so we are like very official, and we are very official. And then you can tell them like I attended the session, and basically it's clearly say that if I want to study in the U.S., I have to be very careful when it comes to letters of recommendation, and I am not allowed to write it. I'm so sorry. Like, please, if you're really care about like whatever it is that I'm going to do in the future, like I need you to write it, right? Even if after you do that, like almost begging in a way, and then they say, I'm sorry, I'm busy, like, just write it. That's okay. Just write it. No one will know. If I were you, I'm telling you, try to find other referees. Just get out. Just get out of there and just like find other referees. The way I look at it, because, here's the thing, yeah. When it comes to like applying to US universities, even to the point where you submit all your application, it's all personal to the universities. It's all personal, right? They really value your honesty, and they seriously want to know you on a personal level, not just like your professional level, like from your resume or anything. It's very personal. So even like every step of the way, like when you submit, like when you gather all these documents, it's very personal. So I look at this as very personal as well, as in like if that person actually don't actually show that he or she actually has an interest in me, like like doing master's degree or PhD or anything, I would be like, okay, so you don't want to help me. That's totally fine. I'm going to find another person. So if I were you, try to find another referee. And then of course, like now right? Like if the referees ask you to write it for them, you are not supposed to say yes. Even though they are like, no one will know. Just like write it, trust me, like it's okay. I'm giving you the okay. But it is not okay. You can tell them that it is not okay. Because ethically speaking, it's not right. Do you remember that verpa that I showed you? That's how serious it is. They even have that one section when they kind of like ask, do you want to waive your right? Because the way they look at this letter is very confidential. It's very serious. It's a serious thing, right? So if the referees ask, you're not supposed to say yes. If their reason is, I can't, I can't write like in English that good, that's why you just write it. You can tell them like, don't worry, just write it in Bahasa, and then I can help you find like the sworn translators. Maybe you can offer them, I'm gonna pay for that sworn translator. I just need you to write it like on Indonesian in Bahasa, right? So tell them that. And here's the serious thing, and I'm going to get really serious right now. Basically the admissions committee like really take this supposedly confidential letter seriously, and we don't want to mess with it. If they ever found out, they could reject your application right away, no matter how you graduated with a cum laude or you have like a really strong essays, or you have like your GRE is score is actually really well and everything. If they ever found out that you're the one who writes it, they would reject it right away. And then now, maybe you're trying to think, how will they find out? How will they find out? I'm telling you, so this happens to me once. I know it's only happened once, but then this is like really serious. So it's like a few years back when I always like tell the stories like every time I have this session. But I used to have like this one advisee, right? Back then I actually just started Education USA, and then at the time, I'm still like learning a lot of things, and at the time, I didn't know that um, technically I'm not supposed to like read letters of recommendation at the time. I don't know that it's supposed to like confidential, but I already know at the time that it's kind of like a no-brainer for me. I don't know, maybe because like I graduated from like I did my bachelor's degree in the U.S. or anything, but then it's a no-brainer for me that when it comes to like letter of recommendation, you're not supposed to write it, right? But then it's just that at the time I didn't know that I'm not supposed to read it. So this one advisee, we are planning. So this person came, and then we are planning to actually do two reviews, right? The essays and then the letter of recommendation. So we started with the essay, and then I said, okay, I give this person like some comments and everything. And then I read the letter of recommendation, right? And then first of all, I'm not an English native speaker, like not an English native speaker at all. Like I'm fully Indonesian. I was born and grew up here. English is completely my second language, and clearly, like my English is not perfect. But for whatever reason, when I read the letter of recommendation, a couple of sentences, and then I kind of like look at this person and I said, "You write this letter of recommendation," and then this person is just not like shocked or anything, and the person was just like, "Yeah," like it's a normal thing, and I was like, "Wait, you're being serious?" And the person said yes, and I was like, whoa. And then after that I started to kind of like ask a lot of my advisees, not like judging them, but not, like literally like out of curiosity, hey, who writes the letter of recommendation? And then more and more and more advisees actually telling me, I do. And that's like when I started to see like the problem, like, whoa, okay, nope, this can happen, right? And then some years later, well, not that sounds like really long, but I don't know, maybe like 1 year later, I decided to have the session, and then basically to kind of like, like telling you guys that no, you're not supposed to write a letter, and then I tell this student, I tell this advisor, he's like, whoa, you don't want to do this. So imagine like me as a non-English native speaker, how can I catch that it's actually being written by someone, by the same person? If I can catch that, can you imagine how quickly an English native speaker can catch that as well? So we don't want to risk that. You don't want to risk that, like seriously, because yeah. And I don't know if you're scared right now, you better. I mean, like if you right now like think about, yeah, I was like actually planning to be the one who writes this letter of recommendation. Now you know, and be grateful for attending this session, because now you know that you are not supposed to write this letter. And then don't worry, as in like I actually asked a number of different admissions committee, like, how do you guys actually view these letters? And then I told them like, because here in Indonesia, like English is not like our first language, and then sometimes like the recommenders find it like really hard. And then they say they're very laid back. They find it like really like cool about it. They say, oh, it's a ladder. It's an important ladder, but it's still a ladder. So we totally understand that if the person can't like really write English that well, we don't mind if that person actually provide like two documents into languages, like in the original and in English. So there are ways. All you need to really understand right now is that you are not supposed to write the letter. But I'm telling you some tips. What you can do is actually like I think it's in a few slides before this, where you can actually tell them what they can say in as in like kind of like give them like a layout. You know what I'm saying? Like you can kind of like tell them, oh, you can actually kind of like refresh their mind, like, oh, you can tell them that probably I'm, like if you believe it, I have like really good communication skills, because you remember when we did this project together, I did this, da 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 da. And then they will be like, oh, okay, now I get it. But when they actually really start writing the content, it's not supposed to be you. It's supposed to be the person. Okay? That's it. That's it. I hope this is like new information for you guys. I don't want to, well, I want to scare you actually. No, I was about to say like I don't want to scare you, but no, I want to scare you. But this is like a really necessary, right? Because we don't want you to fail just because of they catch you write the letter of recommendation. And in fact, I actually have one advisor who recently told me that she got rejected last year, and then I was just like asking her like, what do you think the reason that they reject you? And then she said, do you know what? If I can actually be honest, I think it's in the letter of recommendation. And I said, why? Is it because you don't have like strong letter of recommendation? And then she kind of like be honest with me, and she said, because I wrote it. I wrote it. And I was like, I'm not saying anything. I'm like, okay, you know. But then again, I'm just like telling you a heads up. If at the end of the day you still kind of like, for whatever reason, you end up like writing letters yourself, just, I'm not, I don't know what to say. I mean, I already tell you about this, okay? So we're almost like near to the end so that we can have like more discussion together. But I just want to kind of like give you like a sample of what letter of recommendation looks like. This is kind of like the old version, not like kind of like old school type of letter of recommendation where they want like the letterhead and like the full name and information and everything, and then you scan it and then you upload it. But like we started to see a lot of like programs now. The way they ask letter of recommendation is not like in a letter form, but more like they give you a link, and then the recommenders have to open that link, and then it's more like a set of questions, and then the person will have to write it in kind of like in a box. So it depends, but there are still some universities, some programs that ask for like the old school type of letters recommendation, and I'm going to show you kind of like what it looks like. So basically, this is like the content. It has like two pages, I think, 1.5 pages, but basically, and this is just to give you an idea, or maybe you can kind of like show this to recommender, not like copy paste it, of course, but just to kind of like understand better like what is in it, what should be in the letter. So the first paragraph is normally about, let's see, it's about the recommender, just like a little bit like where the recommender actually knows you. And then the second and third paragraph, and just like, yeah, let's see, like just 6 lines talking about like where does this person actually know you, not about like them, like I'm the president of whatever and I have this much company and whatever. But no, it's more like just kind of like short introduction about like what, and this is like to tell you that seriously, like the admissions committee, they don't care who the person is. And then the rest is all about you, just all about you. That's why picking someone who knows you well is like the priority when it comes to letters recommendation, right? And so the second and third paragraph, we can break it down to like many different skills or many different talents that you have. So here, Jane is highly intelligent and has good analytical skills. And then what comes next is not like sometimes like people explaining what highly intelligent and good analytical skills mean, but then that's not totally like what the admissions committee want to read. Rather, it's about, please elaborate. Like, when did Jane perform the skills? And then so give like the content where the time when Jane has good skills, right? And then the second one, Jane has excellent communication skills. And then again, the person actually elaborate when, just like one examples of when Jen actually really shows her good communication skills, right? And the rest, if the person wants to kind of like go on a personal level, they can do that. This is like a really good type of recommender because this is like a long letter, and then like clearly the person is actually put his or her effort in writing one, and that is the kind of like recommenders that you want to look for, someone who really put interest in you, because this person actually go the extra mile by giving like um talking about Jane on a personal level, right? And then what comes next is equally important because this is like when the person is actually kind of like do the vouch, right? That Jane is unquestionably an exceptional candidate for graduate study in ethics. By the way, I got this from, I believe, UC Berkeley. I don't know if it's still in there. It's for public, so if you want to just read it again, well, I mean, you can always like rewatch the session on YouTube. But if you actually want to have like the PDF version so that you can print it, try googling it. I don't know if it's still in there. I got this like quite a while ago. Just type like UC Berkeley sample of letters of recommendation, and then on my web browser is actually on top. But I'm pretty sure there are actually a lot of other universities out there in the US that has this kind of samples, similar to resume and CV. All right, and yeah, that's kind of like it. And then oh, not even like one and a half, but kind of like like one page. So this is quite long letter of recommendation. The person doesn't have to write this long, but just to give you an idea, they can actually go the extra mile if they want. Okay. And we're definitely near to the end. Don't forget to send a thank you note to this recommender. Um, they will definitely going to appreciate that. Okay. Get one of the education ones. I know. Like I always tell myself, like I think the way I put this slide is a bit odd because it seems like get one of education West America advisors to check your letter of recommendation. Which, by the way, we no longer do that. I think it was just only like my first 1 year that I did that. But no, we don't read letter of recommendation. We still see like one or two advices of mine. At least I don't know about Santika, but I still see like one or two advices of mine every year, which is like one or two is just like almost nothing because we got to deal with like hundreds of advices where they basically kind of like, hey, do you actually mind reading my letter of recommendation? But my answer is always the same, like no, no. It's supposed to like a confidential letter. However, we can definitely take a look at your resume or CV. But like I said earlier, have it already in the US version. We're not going to be able to review you, nor we want to. We were able to do it. We just don't want to do it like if you still have like in the non-US version. So please make it into the US version. Okay. And good luck. This is my last slide, and it's good. I love it. I love giving this presentation, and then I'm going to call up my colleague Santika and just to see how are we doing. We got kind of like because in my screen it's kind of like the orange pop out, kind of like oh it means that the chat has been like very active, and so after the presentation I love it because like I get to like okay, now I want to read what is it in the chat. Like, what is it that you guys are talking about while I'm giving the presentation? But hi, Santika, thank you so much for being here with me and helping me in the chat room. So how are we doing?
Hi, Fina. Thank you so much for the very elaborate presentation as usual. And we are very, I don't know, I'm having fun in the chat box while you were presenting. A lot of our participants actually kind of learn along the way when you mention certain things and they go in the chat box and ask questions. And I try my best to help them answer the questions. But yeah, there are still some interesting questions to be, how do I call this? Buat dibahas. So tonight I will, let's see. I think I have two for now or three. So all of you, if you're watching from other platforms, not only in Zoom, if you're in Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, if you have question, you can put your question in the comment box in other platform other than Zoom, and our team will pass it to me and Fina here, so we can talk about your question. We can try our best to answer it. Okay, so the first question is, Vina, ini tadi, it's a bit of a repetition of what you have been presenting, but I think this is very important because this is kind of like case by case when it comes to US University. So from Nikki in Zoom, hi, what should we do if the academic person, lecturer, or faculty member is no longer working at the campus or if they already retired? So this is a letter of recommendations. And I answered in the chat box. Actually, this is a case by case. If you go ahead and ask the admission officer in the U.S. University through email, they will enlighten you with what they can do for you. So the cases yang udah pernah Vina and I handled, ya Vina ya, some of the universities actually say, oh, it's okay, you can change that letter of recommendation from the academic perspective to the work perspective, so like the professional aspect instead of the academic. So it can be replaced with other aspect for the letter of recommendation, but you do need to check with them, right?
Yeah, but if I can add to that, what I think I realized from my advisors in the past, they said that the universities where the person actually used to be the professor or anything sometimes they allow to kind of like still use kind of like the letterhead and everything. Maybe not just the email. I mean, I don't know if the email actually stays with the person after they maybe not. I don't know. So I think in terms of like the um if the person is actually using like personal email, probably the university will understand. But maybe want to check with the university itself, not like the university that you want to apply to, but kind of like ask if, hey, would you? And sometimes the university is like, because that professor is part of that university as well, like for the rest of whatever, forever. So, yeah. But then I totally agree with you, Santika. You can also ask the admissions committee and see what they think about it.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Vina, for adding some information on top of that. And the next question is from someone in YouTube. Hai Kak, apakah letter of recommendation wajib dari akademik atau boleh hanya dari supervisor dan atasan di kantor saja? So usually they will state a minimum of two, and one from the academic perspective and one from your professional perspective, but or aspect. But again, the minimum is usually two, but some universities also state that their minimum is three and did not specify kayak dari aspek mana atau dari recommender siapa dari mana gitu. So again, you can see how it fits. I have advisee who got accepted, and he told me that the letter of recommendations coming from three perspective. Jadi satu dari tempat dia volunteer, it's like an organization, so kind of like the supervisor, and then from work, and then from academic perspective. Jadi bisa tiga. So it depends kayak how you see the recommendation. Kalau kamu lihat instructions yang nggak ada yang kayak so specific like that, and you are wondering if this is okay or not, please double check with the admission office, or like what Vina said, you can try to email the professor. But again, the rule of thumb, letter of recommendation itu harus dari orang yang have the capacity and the authority to supervise you. So it cannot be, if you're a manager, it cannot be from your fellow manager. It has to be from someone above you. So like senior manager, something like that gitu. Itu contohnya. So if you were a student back in your university, of course, the person who can give your letter of recommendation is the lecturer or someone who kind of like supervise you.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I got questions from people. How about if the universities, let us decide the recommender? So on the website they put letter of recommendation and like academic slash like employers or whatever like that. And then sometimes they ask like which one is better, yeah, gitu. And I said, well, just similar to like resume or CV, just like as is, like what would be like the easiest way for you guys to actually get the recommender? And like I said earlier, sometimes if you have been in the workforce for quite a while, and then it's actually quite challenging to get in touch with the previous professors or anything like that, and then the universities that you want to apply to give that options, well, that's good. You don't have to bother asking like professors or anything, and then just stick to like the workforce. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Vina, for the answer as well. So tonight is very fun in a way. Kaya, we always repeat the same topic every month, the letter of recommendation and resume CV for U.S. Applicants, right? U.S. university applicants, and also the essay. But every time we have the same topic session, it's always a different set of questions and participants. Jadi kayak for tonight, especially tonight, it's very unique because we have questions more on the letter of recommendation side, which usually, which I think last time we have this session, Vina, our questions is about CV and resume, banyak banget gitu.
Interesting.
Yeah, tonight it's about letter of recommendations, most of them. So yeah, it's very interesting. And this is why back in the chat box when you were presenting earlier, some of them asked if we can like share the PPT, and I said no because I think it's kind of like confidential in a way. We want to keep the PPT to be, only Education USA advisors who can use this PPT, right?
Yeah.
Also, I think most of the things that is very important and essential is delivered verbally by you or me most of the time, and the discussion itself is something that's more valuable than the PPT itself. And so you can always rewatch this in YouTube at America Double A and the back in the end. And that's why I recommend you to rewatch it instead of like having the PPT itself. And also you can come to the same session because we have so many participants who's doing that, and they also come for our advising session, ya Vina, ya.
Yeah.
Yeah, course, your successful student and our successful student also did the same thing. Kayak kita udah ngundang beberapa kali successful student, and all of them say we come to this specific info session repeatedly. To discuss, right?
Yeah. And I found it actually really interesting that I never actually expect people to watch even like essay session for a couple of times. And I'm like, my goodness, like that session is actually me talking for like literally an hour for like an hour and 15 minutes. That's like, like that's sometimes like where like how long I can go with that presentation. I tried my best to actually give that presentation like like less than an hour. I couldn't because the information are just like really, really important.
I do agree. So yeah, and what I love about our sessions, even if they are the same topic, is always the discussion, because like what I said, for tonight, it can be about more on the letter of recommendations, and the other one can be about the CV and resume. So it's very, very technical. So if you attend more than one, I think you will get more knowledge, just as we always have new advices and we learn so much from them. And that's why the same session selalu ada something new to update all of you who are watching our events. Gitu. So next question is also about the letter. Ini dari Facebook. This is from Jonathan. Any tips for letter of recommendation? I assume it's letter of recommendation because you only write letter here. Letter for doctoral programs. So I don't see any difference it will make for any doctoral programs, right, Fina? If you have anything to add to that.
No, I don't think so either. I think I think it would be the same unless the university might specify that on their website. So I think this is like why actually really like understand the requirements on their program really careful is really important, because yes, we may kind of like understand that, oh yeah, in the general term, like they required transcript, a lot of recommendation, and so on and so on. But then again, like, because how the grad schools in the US being set up is they are very decentralized. So like literally every department, even though like it's Department of Business or Department of Law under the same university, they are actually do their own thing, right? So and this is pretty similar, even if it's like for PhD, but maybe they actually require something more for the letters of recommendation for the PhD level. We don't know, but the way I look at it, it should be the same.
Right. So, speaking of which, when you mentioned kayak the specific instructions or detail on letter of recommendation, it reminds me of CV or resume. Some university and some program in some US university is very specific. In a way, they ask you to not go over certain pages. Kayak one page resume, that's it. So you have to follow that. Like you don't want to negotiate. Tapi Santika boleh nggak 2 halaman? No, just one, because it's specific on the website.
Oh, yeah.
One page resume. You want to follow what they wrote there because that's what they are asking for and looking for. Terus berikutnya ada juga yang so specific. You include your salary or any gap year if there is any gap year you have in your journey, in your CV or resume. So you want to follow that as well. You want to include what they are asking for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different from one program to another program, even if it's the same university. Kayak ada satu I forgot what university, but if the MBA one really is specific, asking for like the salary and the gap year, but for other programs in that university, they don't ask for that. So you want to be very specific. And when you come to me for CV or resume review, I will ask you if there is anything specific being asked by the department that you are applying to, the program that you're applying.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I most of CV and resume review goes to me. It goes to yeah.
I was about to say, see, like even like Santika's explanation is very thorough. Like I wouldn't probably be able to do that, and well, it just because that I'm like, yeah, this may be like sound very biased, but I'm like so much into like reading essays, but it doesn't mean that I'm not reviewing resume or CV as well. But then sometimes I give like the option to my advisee, like I'm giving them a heads up, like, hey, look, with resume and CV, because I feel like it's very straightforward, and I think just like you just need to kind of like attend the session and then actually really read what the university is asking. You are pretty much good to go, as in like you don't actually really need someone to check it for you. But then, of course, that's why Education USA is here. We are definitely able to do that. But I just feel like personally, it's kind of like straightforward. So if someone kind of like asks me, I kind of like ask them back, like, hey, do you want this review to be like very, very detailed? Because I told them that usually when I look at resume or CV, I only tend to pay attention on the structure. Like just as long as you have like good font size, and then I can see like education on and everything on the right, on the left side, and I can read it, just like skim it through real quick. I'm not reading like the content, what is like exactly in it. Then I would say good. But then sometimes I tell people that, but hey, if you actually want Santika to actually really take a look what is in it, and then she's sometimes like always like making sure with you, like, hey, are you sure that the university asked this and that. So Santika is just so detailed, so that I usually like refer some of my advisees to her, and then yeah.
And I do the same for essay. And not because I don't review essay as well. So like what Vina said, we both do the same thing, but it's just on a different preference. So Vina kind of like prefer essay, and I do prefer CV and resume, and that's why sometimes I do refer some of my advisee to Vina for the essay review, just because she have more experience in essay and she loves it. So why not, right? And yeah, we both enjoy what we are doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Totally.
So, next question is also on letter of recommendation.
Cool.
From Jonathan in Facebook. I think this is a continuation of the. Is it okay if we write with some mistaken structure tenses? I'm assuming, because we also talk about essay just now, I'm assuming you are asking about letter of recommendation. And per Fina's presentation, she mentioned that actually the admission office is quite understanding, yeah. In a way, they know that your recommender probably are not Americans, not English native speaking speaker. And especially for international students, they all know, you're not Americans, right? So I think they do have that capacity to be more lenient in that aspect. But of course, we don't want to submit something that's really hard to understand. In a sense, kayak kalau terlalu berantakan and the English is just very hard to understand for on normal basis, kayak misalnya kamu baca and we are not even native English speaking, we are not even native speakers, but if we find it very hard to understand, then you probably want to do something about it, right?
Yeah, no, I would say that if the letter of recommendations, they will know, well, hopefully they will know that this is from Indonesia, and that Indonesia, and like, oh, this is from like an international student. I don't really have like the exact answer to this question, but we can kind of like hope that the way I look at it, if it's just like minor mistake, it will be okay. And this is kind of like goes with like essay as well. Another teaser, by the way, before our session next time. Which although like at the end of my session, I always tell people that you do not want to have like grammatical errors. But then I mean, I'm pretty sure like even like the local Americans, they might have like like maybe like very minor like grammar mistakes. And I would say kind of like I think they will kind of like understand if there are like maybe just like one or two grammar mistakes in the essay, but it's just not constantly. And then sometimes I would pick it up from like my advisors, like when I read it, there will be like a number of like grammar mistakes. But then again, you know what I'm not gonna tell? I'm not gonna say this is like another thing, but then again, dot dot dot. I'm gonna tell you on the next event.
Yeah, definitely worth coming for. The essay is also very elaborate presentation, and like I said, kayak tiap-tiap acara walaupun sama topik, tapi kayak Q&A sessionnya itu selalu beda, and we always learn something new in the end.
Yeah, and I find it really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I never actually realized that until you mention it, Santika. That yeah, or the
I
question
really
is actually kind of like different. I'm like, whoa, okay, I love it.
beda banget, and some days kayak wow, this question we can use again, you know.
Yeah,
This one is from Iman. Wait a second. Yang Jonathan tadi, I think I want to add something.
yeah.
So if you miss the presentation, because Vina has been telling everyone to that you can have the option to offer your recommender for Sworn Translator. So if
Yeah.
you miss that slide, you probably want to go back and rewatch them on YouTube or on YouTube at America's YouTube. So yeah, you can offer that in alternative if you are afraid that your recommender nggak terlalu bagus Englishnya, takut
Mhm.
structure-nya atau grammar-nya atau whatever reason Englishnya kurang bagus. Always find other ways so that they can help you. Okay, and
Totally.
of course you want to help them to help you. I think that's just fair. Okay, I hope that helps. Okay, ini dari Iman. Would there recommendations on letter of age or work? Should it always in the same area field or expertise? Let's say I am applying for post degree to pursue academic career, but he or she received the letter of recommendation from his or her workplace instead of the university. So this is a bit hard for me to understand. I'm assuming that you want to apply to kind of like academic, but the letter of recommendation is not from someone in the academic career atau kayak beda nggak linear kayak fieldnya ya. So I would say I don't think kayaknya nggak ada apa ya. There is no specific requirements that your recommender has to come from certain field,
Mhm.
right?
Professional work is professional work. I mean, they don't specify it that it has to be like on the same field. I mean, if it's on the same field, then well, that's a bonus. But then it doesn't mean that it has to be like on the same field because don't forget that if there are a lot of programs in the U.S., maybe like the majority of the programs where they don't limit the applicants
From which background?
to apply for that background and they have to have like bachelor's degree in that same program. So a lot of people actually graduated bachelor's degree in engineering and then they do MBA. I mean, there's nothing business background in there. So yeah, no, that's totally fine. And I think the way I understand this question is there any age? Will there be any limitation on writing, like as in like a number of letter of recommendation? Where I think it depends on the university. I just like to like stick to the university. So if the university asks for like 3, then submit 3. Don't submit 4, because then that's kind of gonna give them like more work, and it's very unnecessary. I know like sometimes we kind of like, but I have like 5 great recommenders. I mean, I can do that, right? I mean, it's not like you cannot do that, but I just feel like why would you? They only ask for like 3, so just submit 3. I just feel like yeah, when it comes to like the US, it's just like very like straightforward. Um, or maybe like for example, right? Like for example, on their requirements, they didn't mention for you to submit resume or CV. So then that means you don't submit resume or CV. Although I've never seen programs that didn't ask for that, but just give you an example, right? Or maybe they didn't put like TOEFL or anything. So then they don't ask for TOEFL. So yeah, just follow what is in the website. They update the website. We can fairly say that whatever it is in the website is quite accurate. And then of age or work, as maybe you're wondering, like maybe you have to work certain years, but no. I mean, even like you can get like a recommender from when you're doing internship, like maybe like Santika said earlier, from someone who where the person actually did volunteer. It actually doesn't really matter. It just has to be someone who actually knows you well, and then someone that you actually be part of that activity. Professional work is ideal, but then I mean, they will understand if it's like from like internship or like volunteer. So
Yeah, but if it's what I understand from this question, kalau maksudnya kayak age limit kayak certain age udah nggak boleh ngasih letter of recommendation, I don't think that's the case, right? And any limitations of writing letter, kayak mungkin satu recommender boleh nulis berapa letter. I think you can have the same recommender for all of the university that you are applying to. Jadi kayak they can write different apa ya, recipient letter of recommendation. Jadi kayak satu buat University A, satu buat University B. It can be the same, but you want to make sure that they do change the introduction where they mention you are applying for this program and this university, biar nggak ketahuan copy paste only. And I think it's safe to assume that the same recommender only need to submit one letter for one program or university. Okay, I think that's the limitation that I can think of. Kayak kalau yang age kayaknya nggak pernah dengar, and I don't think it's relevant to to be a recommender. Like what Vina said, as long as they know you very well and supportive of you. Alright, I hope that helps. Terus tadi Vina juga bilang ada yang nggak perlu CV atau resume, and it's very interesting because tadi di chat box pas Vina lagi present, one of our participants in Zoom, Hanisa, bilang the school that she or he went to attend itu nggak minta CV atau resume.
oh, wow, what is that?
Yeah, I also want to ask, kayak, can you enlighten us in the chat box in Zoom which program and university, and also she asked, I still have to before coming, because I mentioned if you want to come to Vina or me for essay atau CV or resume review, we kind of like prefer you to send it the essay, CV atau resume through email dulu, baru datang ke Zoom. So she asked if I have to still submit it before going to Zoom. No. So we offer different types of services. Jadi nggak cuman CV atau resume atau essay review, but we also help in answering your questions along the way. So yeah, you can come in if you don't need the review. We don't need that document from you at all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything that is confidential, yeah, Vina. We don't share our advices, essay, CV, or resume to anyone. Even Vina sama aku, we have different advices most of the time. We didn't even share that among ourselves. So yeah, you can feel assured on that.
Yeah.
And sambil nunggu Hanisa jawab di Zoom, if you're still watching, we are going to other question from Christina in Zoom. I wonder, okay, I had joined mentorship program for study abroad with scholarship. One of the mentor put hobbies in the CV and give the brief explanation of each hobbies, such as read book, one per month. Is that really important to be stated in the CV? Thank you. Interesting. I love the question.
No.
Okay.
No. I actually just asked Christina, what mentorship is it, if I may ask? Just wondering. And if the mentor actually graduated from the US. If yes, to be completely honest with you, I found it weird. But then here's the thing. I'm not saying that I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that your mentor is actually doing anything wrong. It's just that, or maybe is he? It's just that, there are some people who never got exposed to like this kind of service, like with Education USA. So there are actually a lot of people out there who just applied themselves with no guidance from Education USA, and that's totally normal too. Although my goal here, working here, again, like, it's actually to tell as many people as possible that, hey, we are here, use our service. But we're totally aware that there are people out there who don't use our service, and then so that they just kind of like, do their own thing, and they still get accepted. And you know what, like, at the end of the day, even like with essay, right? Like, at the end of the day, people kind of like find it shocking that when I tell them that, well, at the end of the day, like, if you don't actually follow what our recommendation is when it comes to essay, you can still write whatever it is that you want to write, even though it's not like exactly what they're asking for, and then you may still get accepted. May I'm saying may. But maybe like most likely you're not going to get accepted, right? And the reasons why we have this kind of like session every time, especially like on the essays, because we actually really do see people when they come use our service, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about essay. Even I've been here for a while, I'm still learning. But then it's just that when people come to us and then we give them like some, like essay review sessions and everything, we actually see that they get accepted. Although again, it's not like a guarantee or anything, but we actually see like a huge number of our advisees who actually use our service end up getting accepted. So yeah, it's pretty similar. Maybe like that person, that mentor of yours, don't know that you're not. They like he or she didn't know that you're not actually supposed to put like hobby. So, but yeah, no, I'm telling you now that you're with us. No, you're not putting hobby.
Well, one thing that I don't think you should as well, but some people feel the need to, like fill in the gap in their CV or resume. Jadi kayak, tahu kan kalau misalnya dimintanya 2 pages of resume and you only have like 1.5 page and it feels like, aduh, kayaknya harus dimaksimalin nih, harus 2 page. So some people find the need to add things, just fill the space. Not saying that it is recommended. It is not recommended actually. Why they have a page limit is because it's straightforward that they want maximum of 2 page of information about you. And hobbies is not that relevant, especially if you want to apply for the master or PhD program, or even the especially not relevant to graduate programs. But for scholarship, unless that they ask you to include it, what is your hobby, then you may want to add that. But if not, it's not something yang recommended at all into it. And it's more professional to add in the word interest instead of hobby. Feels like more professional, but still biasanya nggak di-include sih gitu.
Yeah.
Moving to the next question. Wow, this is a long one. From Alberta Cristina, also from Zoom. Hello.
She's my advisee. Hi, Alberta. Thanks so much for watching.
Yes. Akunia is also my advisee. She already is here. Hi, thank you for joining us ya. Ini
Donnie here as well. Kayak Kak Santika probably already know that.
Dengar nama Doni. Banyak banget sih yang we are familiar with here tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Udah one-on-one advising terus datang juga ke acara kita.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
This is from Alberta. I want to ask, what if my former supervisor told me that I can ask her to write a recommendation letter for me? She is a master of the topic that I want to pursue. However, we have worked together only for 1.5 months. Yes, we discussed things regarding our research topic virtually since it's been the pandemic era. Is it fine if I ask her to write letter of recommendation since we have only known each other for about a month, and maybe the university will think it's a very short period to know me professionally and personally? Thank you, Mbak Vina and Mbak Santika. Thank you, Albert.
Doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, I don't see it as a problem on how long the person knows you. Karena the funny thing is we can meet someone every day in the workplace, but we know nothing more than that person compared to someone who we just met like a month ago. Jadi the pace of people getting to know you is completely different. So if you feel like 1,5 bulan atau 2 bulan and habis itu langsung mungkin lanjut secara, even if it's only virtually, but you guys click so much on that topic and shared so much on that area, it's professional, and so he or she can attest to your skills and interest and ability in the professional aspect. So I don't see as a problem as well. Yeah, I hope that answers ya ke Christina. Terus kita move ke Doni. I think we are almost right on time, Vina. We only have 9 minutes left and 1 question left.
Cool.
Nice. So this is from Donnie Julius Christian in Zoom. Hi, Kak Vina and Kak Santika. I'm going to apply for a PhD in 2022. This is because you asked in the chat box, Vina. This is nice.
Okay.
Kak Santika probably already know this. Yeah, I think I remember. I think we met before in Zoom. Will it be more preferable to have all of my referees from academia, since PhD students are expected to be a researcher or academia, or should I have my supervisor as well as referee to provide a different angle? Jadi maksudnya semuanya harus dari academic perspective, letter of recommendationsnya, refereesnya, or harus minta supervisor juga supaya ada different point of view or different angle. I would vote for giving them a kayak more well-rounded perspective of view. Jadi kayak nggak cuma di research but also in work, but also when you were a student. So kind of like dapat semua gitu. That's me. But
Then what's the university actually say about it on the website? That's very important too, right? Did they say anything about like where the recommender should come from? If on the website they only say letters of recommendation and that's it, like submit 3 letters of recommendation, that's it, and they don't specify where is it supposed to be coming from. In that case, you actually have the power to actually decide on your own. Completely agree with Santika. If you can actually have kind of like a mixture of like academic, but then also like supervisor, that would be really ideal. But then the way I look at it is kind of like if it's easier for you to actually just get 3, let's say the university requires you to submit 3, and then it's easier for you to actually get 3 people from academia who knows you very well, then I would say that's okay if you want to just kind of like get it from like professors. But then if you can kind of like, yeah, maybe I can have 2 from academia and then 1 from like supervisor, then yeah, I probably can get like like a well-rounded type of recommenders.
yeah, so back again to what they are asking from you specifically. Jadi dicek dulu. So every time you are, every document required for your admission, you need to double check it with the department and university that you are applying to, see if they have specific instructions and guidance for you on that aspect. Kalau misalnya nggak di-specify, kayak in this case, CV-nya atau resume-nya atau letter of recommendation yang nggak diminta, kayak letternya nggak diminta dari specific recommender harus siapa dan gimana, then please do have the liberty to show the best version of you in different aspects kalau bisa. But yeah, for CV and resume, it's very rare for them to have specific instructions sih. Tapi please check again, because that's what I will try to ask from you as well to double check that.
Mm-hmm. We have one more question, and then she is actually your advisee.
Okay. Ini dari mana?
From Instagram.
Okay, hi Jocelyn. Ini pertanyaannya, hi Kak Santika. My
mentor.
What do you think that if I ask recommendation letter from boss with business background, even if I'm planning to apply for law school?
Similar to pertanyaan siapa tadi ya?
Tadi ada pertanyaan yang similar to that. So I don't see that as a problem as long as dia bisa attest to your ability, skills, character. Karena kayak it's not that they are going to attest for your skills, for the skills that you are going to learn in the university. That's my point sih. Jadi kayak kan mereka attest for who they know you as gitu. Jadi kayak I think that's totally okay. Unless kayak mungkin yang the person cannot, so the recommender have to know you really well. Jadi doesn't matter background dia apa, karena kayaknya we never see that as a requirement in the in the US universities at all. So yeah, that's totally okay. Vina, if you have anything to add, please do.
Yeah, pretty similar to what you said. And yeah, no, and like I said earlier, basically, the program doesn't have to be like linear to like what you've done in the past. Supervisor is supervisor. Again, like what they actually really looking for is they're not going to talk about like what you did like in a business world or whatever world. What they need to hear is mostly about like your skill.
Yeah.
Right? Like and just about you in like it can be like on a personal level, But then yeah, your skills.
And characters, I think those make very strong letters of recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Dan sebenarnya if you are in law, if you're applying for law, most of the time you already have graduated from a law school in Indonesia karena
Mm-hmm.
ambil LLM di US. This is what I learned from our other.
The last question, yeah.
Yeah, you need to have S1 in law in any countries you're from in order for you to apply for LLM di US. So the chances are if your boss is in business and you are a law graduate working for him or her, berarti kan kamu ngebantuin dia in something have to do mungkin with law atau if not juga nggak apa-apa. If yes, that's actually a plus kayak your boss who don't know about law that much feel that you are very helpful and you are such an expert in law, which is good. Kayak kalau itu bisa di-include di letternya, that will be such a plus for you as well. Okay, I hope that helps. And yeah, thank you so much, Fina, for making this happen. Very insightful PPT, and we look forward to have you tomorrow because we are going to have a very interesting session. Besok itu adalah fund your master's study in the United States with a graduate research or teaching assistantship. So if you are looking for ways to fund your studies, nggak cuma dari LPDP atau Fulbright, kalau kamu masih kayak nyari-nyari funding options, opportunities, join us with Meliana Ulfa. She's a student, tadi kayak Vina udah ngomong di awal introduction PPT kita. She's a student in Texas A&M. Yeah.
I think she went to.
Sorry, University of Texas at Austin.
No, it's just kind of like UT Austin and Texas A&M. They're kind of like, wait, yeah.
Yeah, Vina, if you want to kind of, I will provide the link for the registration buat ngebantu kalian lebih cepat register. Jangan lupa.
I can totally, yeah, I'm actually totally see like on the registration, it's just kind of like going up after I give the presentation earlier. So it seems that people actually, like register. And I mean, this is actually like a really sexy topic. And again, like I said earlier, you know what? I don't think I have ever have this like specific topic on like GRA and teaching assistantship. Again, like sometimes like when I invited like like speakers, we would kind of like touch upon this topic just a little bit, but not as in like for like the full topic. But then again, like with Melly tomorrow, but then we're going to kind of like not just like talking about that, but then we're going to talk about like her journey as well, which is like really, really interesting. Like I'm telling you, and yeah, she's just one of my advisees, and I think that's something that I've been doing for a while now, and now that we have Santika, I want to have like Santika's advices as well to be with us. Like we did that last time, right? Like with Sahril, and so I just want to like feature like so many like guest speaker to this event just to kind of like see kind of and learn about their journey, and the ending goal is to basically tell you guys that if they can do it, so can you. And we are very particular, yes, and like when we try to like pick students or like someone to be with our event, right? Because we like when they have like struggle, and it's really like funny because like when they say, oh yeah, I felt like LPDP twice, and I'm like, wow, like smiling in a way, but like although it's supposed to be kind of like sad, but I'm like actually wow, because like look at them, they failed like LPDP twice, but they're still able to be in the US. So and this is kind of like similar. The event tomorrow is to kind of like not only to give you actually new information about what if you failed like Fulbright or like LPDP. Especially if you are heavy in like science, there are possibilities that you can actually get it from the universities. Yeah. So yeah,
Agree with you.
yeah, let's wrap this up. This is
Not giving up is important.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Fina.
Thank you, Santika, and so thank you, everyone. I really hope you learned something new. Again, this event will be uploaded on YouTube. I think forever. I don't know. So you can actually keep rewatching. But then like the reasons why I have like this session every month is just me personally, and I think a lot of people kind of like agree that I prefer to actually attend a session live like this instead of like just watching on your own, like at home or watching the rerun. Because here is fun. You can actually interact with like, people who are basically on the same boat as you, wanting to apply to the US. And so we are cooking for some events for April and May, and it's going to be fun as well. We're probably not going to have as many events as we used to because of the Ramadan month, but don't worry, we're still going to have like another resume session, an essay session, more discussion and everything. So yeah, stay tuned, and I look forward to having you guys again tomorrow, same time, 6:30. Don't be late because you definitely do not want to miss Melly's stories. Because we're going to do like a timeline, like real timeline from like her, like her bachelor's degree background and everything to like now she's about to graduate, and what is next. We want to hear about it from her. So yeah, thank you guys again. Really appreciate it. And thank you, America team. Thank you, Santika. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. And I'm gonna give you back to Maya.
All right, thank you so much, Kak Fina and Kak Santika. That was a very insightful session. We hope to see you again on another session. Now, the rest of you, please don't go anywhere, because earlier in this event, I asked you guys, is it true or false that a resume focuses on a student's complete academic history and highlights their academic accomplishments? And the right answer is false. A resume focuses more on a student's professional history and skill set, and its purpose is to highlight non-academic accomplishments. And our winner for tonight is Hoirul Islamia from Facebook. Congratulations, Hoirul. As I mentioned earlier in this event, America is having a very special activities, and we're giving out 10 tablets for 10 lucky people. And how do you participate? You can participate by posting a picture of your favorite inspirational American women. Tell us how they inspires you on the caption section, and post it on your Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and simply tag our social media at AT America. For further information, visit link down below. Now, you may be wondering, how can I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Easy. You can go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, click create an event, and collaborate with us. All proposals coming to us will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. And while you're on our website, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletters for weekly event updates sent straight to your inbox. Alright everybody, I think that wraps up this episode. It has been really fun, but unfortunately we have to say goodbye for now. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter for event updates, fun content, and so much more. Also, don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel as well. Well, thank you so much everybody for tuning in. See you next time.